Welcome back to our CQ certification. We left off in our last installment talking about time groups and time conditions and call flow controls, how to send calls to the right location, day, night, lunch, holidays. We're now going to dive deeper into, when a call comes into the office, what are the options? Ringing multiple phones, hearing a message where the customer can direct themselves. How do we create those? And then how can we use those in the system? So the first one I'm going to start with is an announcement. An announcement is a combination of a system recording and then the call goes to a location. So if you remember, we talked about this in a previous module, system recordings. This is where you actually create that audio of a closed message or a holiday message or an open greeting or a closed greeting, press 1 for this, press 2 for that. This is the actual audio itself. How can you use this to then direct phone calls? So under applications, you'll find announcements. As I mentioned, announcements is a combination of a greeting and then a location. So if we hit add announcement, let's just say we want to play a holiday greeting. So we can give it a description. In that case, you then you then select the recording. So you first have to create the recording. And so we have one here called holiday. And so this would say something like, thanks for calling. We're closed for the holidays. Please call us back when we're open on Monday, December 25th. If you want to, you can leave a message and we'll call you back when we're open. So in this case, we're not giving them any choices. We're just saying, here's what's happening, and we're going to send you to a voicemail box. So this should match with what you're saying in the recording. So if you say, hey, we're closed, leave a message, your destination after it plays would be a voicemail box. And maybe you would send that to a no message, so it beeps. You don't need to play a busy message. You've already told the customer that they can leave a message if they want. If your recording is, thanks for calling, we're closed, call us back when we're open, you could just terminate the call. In that case, it hangs up. And you can choose all sorts of different locations, but this is used for when you want to play a message and send the caller to a location. It could be a voicemail box, it could be hanging up, it could be anywhere. It could be a ring group if you wanted. Hang on, this call is possibly being recorded for security's sake. And then your destination might be a ring group where it rings the phones. So you're just playing that message and sending the call somewhere. You're not giving them any choices. It's just sending them somewhere else. So that's the announcement. I see people use those all the time. They're very handy. So what you would do here is once you've created this holiday announcement, you could come back to your time condition, your holiday time condition, which we created. And if it is a holiday, we now want to go to our holiday announcement. So now you're actually using it. Before you just made it. So now if it's a holiday, it'll play the message and drop them in the voicemail box. So that's the announcement. The other popular destination is a ring group. A ring group is ringing a set of phones and then sending it to a different location. So under applications, you'll see ring groups. It's fairly self-explanatory. You give it a number. Okay. So in some ways, it's kind of like an extension. You give it a name. So we'll call this the sales group. And then you pick which phones ring. So you've got a quick select over here. This will show you all of your extensions. You can put multiple in here. You can even put external phone numbers in here. If you're going to put an external phone number in here, you need to end the phone number with a pound sign. So this is going to call extension 101, and it's also going to call that cell phone. You've got some ring strategies here. I'm not going to go through every single one, but there's all sorts of different ways where you can ring the phones that you place in this group. You can ring them all at the same time. You can ring them one at a time. You've got a ring time. How long are you going to ring these phones? We'll say 30 seconds. In this case, you've got some other options here. Many of these don't get changed. You can do a CID name prefix. If you do sales, when that call hits extension 101, it'll say sales dash the person's phone number, if that's useful to you. And then you scroll down. There's some other settings here. If you ever have questions on settings, it would take us all day to go through every single one. If you just simply hover over the question mark, it'll explain it to you. Most of these don't get changed ever. But the key to a ring group is you ring a series of phones. It could even be a single phone. You don't have to ring multiple phones. But then you get to choose a destination. That's different than just ringing an extension. If you ring an extension, it'll go to its voicemail. But if you do a ring group, it'll ring extension and then it will go somewhere else. Maybe it'll go to a different holiday announcement, or you wouldn't send to a holiday announcement. Maybe it goes to a different ring group. So let's just show you an example. So we'll call this sales group first ring. So we'll do 100. I'm going to leave that there for now. I'm then going to create a failover ring group. So we'll call this 301 sales failover. And now we're going to do 101, 102, 103, 104. So you're bringing more phones into the ring group for 20 seconds, and then you're going to drop it into a voicemail box. All right, send it to the sales voicemail box. So that's our failover. So let's go back to our first ring group. We're going to ring this phone for 30 seconds. That's quite a while. Each ring's about 6 seconds. And then we want to change this. The destination here is going to be our failover ring group. So now a call comes in. It rings the first group. If they don't answer, it goes to the second group. If the second group doesn't answer, it goes to the voicemail we selected. So now we've tied our two ring groups together. I see people do that all the time. Multiple ring groups. That's very common. The other option I see people doing are queues. Queues, the main difference between a queue and a ring group is that the caller hears music as opposed to ringing. And also you can tell the caller, what spot in line they are, how long they have to wait for. There's a million settings for a queue, but there's a lot of similarities. You give it a number, you give it a name. Let's see, you can even play various announcements to the callers when they first join. And then you choose a failover destination. If nobody picks up, it's similar to a ring group. If nobody picks up, where should we send this call? You don't want to trap people in a queue all day. So you could choose a voicemail here. Once again, all sorts of different options within the queue, but I'm just trying to give you the general settings for the queue. This one is an important one for static and dynamic agents. These are the people that you want to be queue agents. So if a caller comes to your queue, these phones should ring. Static means they're always there. Dynamic means that they can log in and log out. And there's a feature code for that, which we'll cover in a separate module. But these are agents that are not always a part of the queue. They can decide to join or to drop out. Under timing and agent options, here's your max wait time. I personally would not leave this unlimited because you could have people trapped in here forever. So, how long is long enough? Although some people do. 4 minutes. If they're in there for 4 minutes and nobody picks up, they're going to go to this failover destination. That's where they go. Capacity options, you can put a maximum number of callers in the queue. You can decide if callers can join if there's no agents available, that sort of thing. This is a popular one, the caller announcements. Caller position, how frequently. So I would say every minute's good. That announces, you can do a few things. You can announce their position, or you can announce their hold time. I don't love doing both. You can. It tends to get a little complicated. My preference is to just tell the person what number in line they are. So we'll set this, every minute tell the person what number in line they are. And then you've got this periodic announcement as well, an IVR breakout menu. You can actually tie this to an auto attendant where it will pull them out of the queue, and then it will say, hey, you've been waiting a long time. You can either continue to wait or press 1 to leave a voicemail. And you can put that in here, and then that allows them to keep their spot in line if they don't make a selection, or they can press 1 and leave a voicemail. So this is where you would select that, but this does require you to actually create an IVR first. Let's do that. And IVRs are very popular. It's an auto attendant, digital assistant. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that. People are very familiar with that setup. Under applications, you've got IVR. So we want to hit add IVR. So a name, let's just call this the Open IVR. So you do select an announcement, so you have to create that greeting which we talked about. We don't have one here, so I'll just say closed message. We'll call it closed IVR. Enable direct dial. Do you want in your announcement to say if you know your extension, you can dial it now. You can turn that on or turn that off. For strict dial, you probably want to set that to no legacy. That works better, especially if you're doing an enable direct dial. Then if you scroll down to the bottom, here's where you make your choices. So digits is 1, so that's the press 1, and then it goes to mark. Press 2 for sales, and then you could send that to your ring group. Press 3 to leave a message. So you get the idea here. If you press add the other entry, this is the option that the customer chooses, and then this is where that call goes. So it helps to actually kind of create your choices first, and then come to your IVR. That's why I waited for the IVR last. So all of these are now options, and then above you can decide what happens if someone tries to press 0. 0 is not an option. You can say we've got an invalid, retry is 3. That means that they can choose the wrong option 3 times, and then eventually, where does it send them for an invalid destination? You can terminate the call. You could send them straight to voicemail. So you get to decide what happens if someone keeps pressing the wrong button. But this is how you create your IVRs. Now, if somebody wants a backdoor to their voicemail, you can do that as well. So you could say press 9, and then voicemail is under feature code admin, and then you select the *98 voicemail, dial voicemail, and that will take them to the voicemail section if they want to access voicemail from home. I don't recommend that. That's kind of a thing of the past. Personally, I don't like leaving voicemail open to the world. But once again, the recording you make here, system recording, has to match with your options. Just because you tell somebody they can press 7, if you don't program it here, 7's not going to work. So this is your IVR. So if we save that, so now what we could do is if we come back to our time conditions and our business hours, okay, if we're open, let's send calls to a ring group, and if we're closed, let's send calls to our closed IVR. So here's where you then begin to populate with the various locations that calls can go once you create them. And as I mentioned, you can create the IVR failover for your queue. You would create it here, so you could do a queue. We'll call it a queue failover. You would put an announcement in here where you would say, hey, stay on the line, or press 1 to continue to hold, or press 1 to leave a voicemail. And then once you create that here, you would then come back to your queue and go to your caller announcements. If you want to do a queue breakout, there it is, queue failover, and you can decide how often you don't want to tell them every 15 seconds. Maybe every 3 minutes, give them the option to leave a voicemail or to continue to hold. So that gives you the idea of ring groups, queues, announcements, and IVRs.